Time for Fabulous Film and Friends. This week on Fabulous Film and Friends, with the glow of our 75th episode ebbing, it's time to pick up the empty champagne bottle, sweep the floor, and go back to discussing one measly film. Oh, but what a film it is! 2023's Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by the legendary Martin Scorsese, and starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert DeNiro, Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons, John Lithgow, Brendan Fraser, and a veritable host of craggy-faced old coots on the white end, and on the Native American end, a who's who of Oklahoma and Montana actors who either got their big break from doing community theater or who have never acted in a major feature film before, including the Oscar-nominated Lily Gladstone, who, like myself, got her start acting in Montana's Missoula Children's Theater. Who knows? It may have been my heralded performance as the narrator in Jack and the Beanstalk, or my talents at hawking sweatshirts after the big show that gave a young and impressionable Lily Gladstone the acting bug. My guests today are a full sweat lodge of opinionated tribal elders. I'm talking Rosanne Caputi, Alex Robertson, and not one but two celebrated authors returning to the program, George Young and David Johnson, DMD. Dave, congratulations on the publication of your new children's book. Take this moment to do some carnival barking of your own. What's the book? Give it to us.
Oh, yeah. So this is, the title of it is, Where Does the Tooth Fairy Get All That Money? And it's based on a few patients of mine over the years asked me that question. And I wrote a little story about it. And it explains where the Tooth Fairy does get her money. The artwork's done by an amazing artist named
And
Emily
it's from
Fuller.
Poisoning Indians.
No.
I was going to make the oil joke.
You're trying to make it
Yes, but
connect it
anyway,
all.
it dropped March 5th. So
Oh.
when it's
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Yay.
Three
You
of
get
us
a
know, or
signed
two of us in the
copy.
room know how hard that is. All right, Alex, as
Yeah?
the only card-carrying native on the podcast, get us in the mood with your world-famous imitation of Henry O'Brien's Injun Joe from 1973's Tom Sawyer, starring Johnny Whitaker and Jodie Foster.
I will watch long movies no more forever. White man.
He doesn't. Injun Joe never says
That's
that.
how I sound. I don't care. Yeah, he sounds like a white man playing an Indian, okay?
But
Funny
no,
for me to say that.
Henry O'Brien
I
was
can't
actually an Indian.
Okay. It's been so long since I've seen the Johnny Whitaker version, and I loved that as a kid, but I'd have to see it again. I'm sorry.
Okay, before we get into an all-out movie war, the synopsis. Based on true accounts of Osage Nation members who were murdered after oil was discovered on Oklahoma tribal land in the 1920s, Killers of the Flower Moon tells the tale of the tribal members who had retained mineral rights on their reservation, but Bill Hale, a corrupt and shady local, schemes with his dull-witted and greedy nephews Byron and Ernest Burkhart to steal the tribal members' wealth. All right, so let's go around the room with just a Siskel and Ebert style rating. Alex Robertson, thumbs up or thumbs down for Killers of the Flower Moon?
Thumbs down.
Ooh. David Johnson, thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm going to go 2 thumbs up.
Two thumbs up.
Ooh.
Wow.
George Young, thumbs down.
Terrible. But more on that later.
Yeah. Rosanne Caputi, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Down.
And you can't see it. It's a hearty thumbs up. A solid thumbs up. So it's me and Dave versus the group. All right. I'm going to give it to you first because you have privilege, Alex. Why did you not like this movie?
Well, apart from the... Now, I don't have a problem with long movies if they're done right, but this is one that really felt like a slog. And watching it twice, I gave it the benefit of the doubt because I wanted to see it before this podcast. Because the first time I was really tuning out. This time I was tuning out less. But something that was discussed earlier, we kind of strayed away from the heart of the matter, which is the Native Americans. And why are we not seeing more? I think you could still tell the story, but why not see it from the perspective of the Native Americans, from the likes of Lily Gladstone and
And the
Tungsten Cardinal.
sisters.
And the sisters, exactly.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere that Scorsese wanted to make it more about Ernest Burkhart. And even that seemed convoluted. You know, like how does this man become seduced by whatever, these promises of riches and power, and succumb to that temptation. But even that just seemed a little drawn out, if that makes sense. I mean, I think, you say 20 minutes, I think you could have knocked off 45 minutes from this movie and maybe made it more interesting. But no, it seemed all over the place. And I just thought it lost the narrative. That's my take.
I disagree. But anyway, Dave Johnson,
You would, white
you're
man.
next. Go ahead. Lay it on us. Is Alex right?
Well, I like this movie for a number of reasons. I did think it was a little long. I didn't like the ending. I thought that was the radio show. We could have done without that. I think.
Spoiler alert. There is a radio
sorry.
show at the end of the movie.
Sorry. I think it could have ended before that. But to me, this movie, and I'm going to throw out some terms here, is colonialism 101. What the shenanigans that were going on. The indigenous people, the natives, were pushed on this land, and then once oil was found, then the powers that be wanted those resources. And I think it could have shown more. Like, I love Lily Gladstone. She was amazing in it. But I think to get the backstory of, really what were the, I'm going to say it, what were the white people doing? And the shady deals that were happening behind the backs, they get the trust of the natives, and then they come back and stab them in the back. I really like this movie. I think I do have a little street cred from where I work, so I see it. But what's really going on, so I have a little different perspective. But I thought it a little long ending, but I thought it was well done.
Where do you work? Let the listeners know where you work.
Yeah, I work on a reservation in the Wind River Reservation. So so I get to work with indigenous natives every day.
But Dave, you're pretty well versed in Native American history, just being from the area you're from. And did you know much about this occurrence? Because I knew nothing about it.
About
the Osage having oil and money and white servants and all that.
I didn't know much about that, to be honest. I mean, I knew about all the shitty stuff here in Utah that the white settlers did to the Timpanogos tribe, but it's for another discussion. But lots of massacres, and anyway. But no, I didn't know that. I didn't know obviously I know several members of different nations and their tribes. There's a lot of resources, and they're reaping the benefits of that, whether it's oil, whatever they have on their reservation. So, and I say more power to them. They deserve that. So,
all right, George, give it. We're ready. I'm ready. Again, I called George out on this one, so we're gonna have a duel. A duel of wits. So go for it. Tell me why you didn't like this film.
I can't believe you made me watch this movie.
I didn't make you do anything.
Well, let's see. It's such a long list of things to dislike about this film. First of all, Scorsese directs every scene like he's an 85-year-old man. Stuff that should take 3 minutes of screen time takes 12. Stuff that takes 30 seconds of screen time should take 3 minutes. I don't know why you're all falling all over Lily Gladstone. I wanted to slip a mirror under her nose at one point to see if she was still respirating. And then I hear, is this true? She's been nominated?
Yeah, best actress.
You got to be kidding. For what?
And good stuff.
Best
Subtle
course.
acting. DiCaprio should try it.
Subtle.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get into performance later, but compared to scenery chewing Leonardo DiCaprio, she was a a masterclass in restraint, I thought.
She was so awful. She was almost as bad as DeNiro's Snidely Whiplash. So
Yeah.
if I could find anything other than the indulgent art direction and production design and photography to like, I'd bring it up, but it's just terrible. Oddly, I had dinner last night with somebody who has written the book I'm sorry, read the book by David Gran, and I fully intend to read it because he said it's a much better telling of the story. And last, he said it concentrates, and I thought this would have been interesting because I did think Jesse Plemons was very good. It tells it almost from the standpoint, this is the book, of the formation of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which of course is the only way they're going to solve these murders is if they get, basically the federalized police involved, because no one locally is going to look into it.
Right.
But he said Gran sort of engineered the story from the standpoint of how do you solve a rampage like this when you have, corrupt locality, corrupt county, corrupt state that are all, screaming jurisdiction. And then, of course, when they get it, they don't do anything about it. Okay, fair point. And like I said, I intend to read the book because he said it's much better than the film, even though I don't think that's a really, what should I say? It's a really high bar at this point in time. I can't even say I was disappointed because after decades of box checking, virtue signaling, and get whitey, I'm not surprised that it just sort of lent itself to feeding into that whole trope. Just stop me.
Okay, that's where I want. Where? Okay, I'm going to pin you down on this. I'm as conservative as they come. I'm all about me and Dutch Reagan all the way, but I don't see what you're talking about. Aside from some Oliver Stone-isms in the beginning and the end, and that final shot after the radio show. I mean, clearly the old man was losing it, so I don't even know what he was doing there. But throughout the film, what are you talking about? Where was it woke? Where was it virtue signaling?
Well, maybe if I take it as a whole, and this goes to the product coming out of Hollywood, it is tiresome to just have this stuff microwaved over and over and over again. I mean, Trail of Tears, Wounded Knee, every time I shouldn't say that. It's not every time. I turn around and there's yet another slap at Caucasians. I'm just worn out
These
from
are
it.
things that people actually did, George.
Roseanne, I get it, and I know that
people hardly even knew about the Osage Indian
would bring
in
up the
first
same
place.
argument, and he would tell me the same thing. I get it. It is history. It's the real thing. But do we really have to drag this stuff out every once in a while and rub our noses in it? I no longer see the point, especially when it's not good cinema.
Well, okay, I disagree there. I thought it was going to be The Irishman 2, and I thought it was for Scorsese, for old doddering Scorsese, it was pretty good. It was like a little Goodfellas light. Goodfellas Goes West is how I saw it. It was some good inventive stuff. I think you're being way too hyperbolic to say that it's just terrible filmmaking. I mean,
it's terrible filmmaking.
Come on. I mean, terrible. Did you see the George Foreman movie?
Well, and that's irrelevant to a film that should have been an hour and 45 minutes long to tell the story, and is 3 hours and 18 minutes long. Not that I was
a little slack. I admit it, but at the same time, there were. It's not carting out a trope if I don't know anything about it. I knew nothing about this story. Didn't read the book, and again, the book only came out in 2017, so it's not like, oh, everybody's so tired of the old poisoning Native Americans gag because nobody knows about it.
It's not my point either. It's just an endless conveyor belt of films like this, and it's just exhausting. Does nobody have any original
Remember when all those water movies came out, like Deep Star 6 and Leviathan and The Abyss?
Waterworld.
No. I'm just saying.
Valdez.
No.
I mean, come on.
What we're talking about when all this rash of movies came out that they're all the same. only some of them are going to make it to the top, and the only one that did was The Abyss. But The Abyss didn't do well because there was all these other water movies coming out. So I'm just saying, this movie, does it stand on its own as a historical movie or not? And I think it does. I think it ultimately it stands on its own as, I didn't know this. Did I have problems with it? Absolutely. We'll get into performance. My issues are mainly performance and editing. But I don't think Scorsese did a bad job at all. I mean, as in terms of some of his, is it as good as Goodfellas? No. Is it as good as Taxi Driver? Not a chance. But it's not Eyes Wide Shut, and it's not The Phantom Menace. It's still a pretty compelling movie. But last but not least, before I pretty much said my piece, Rosanne, you didn't like it, but did you not like it for the same reasons that George didn't like it?
The exact same reasons as George. It's weird. It's uncanny, actually. George with his Die Hard poster. We're the same person.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
My cosmic twin. No. The reason I didn't like it is I read the book, which I, again, loved. And your friend is right. It had a lot to do with the FBI. But the other part that it had to do with a lot was Molly Burkhart and her family and all of that. And that was the big problem that I had with this. I do think this story is incredibly important. I can't believe that I didn't learn. Again, you say these tropes, I'm just like, I grew up in the West and we didn't learn about native tribes. I grew up on native land, Paiutes and all different Nez Perce all around, Chief Joseph's dad's grave 150 miles or whatever from my house. And they still didn't teach us these things. So I feel like all these stories are really important and they're individual. So therefore they're never tropes. I feel like if you're taking it to be having your nose rubbed in it, then you're taking it personally as a white person, not as someone who.
No, but I'm part Lenape Indian, and this is exhausting.
That being said, I didn't think the film, and I knew it wouldn't. I don't think the film, it had a few times where I feel like the natives are still seen. The villains more than the actual culture and the people about whom the story is, and that's just not fair. And so there's not a lot of agency there, victims, and that's not the entirety of the book. And again, colonialism for sure, but I feel like we don't get the sense of the loss that we should from the film because it's focused on Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, the two performances that I think are the weakest. And he found all these amazing native performers and doesn't center the film around them. I mean, honestly, if you want it, and I just find it very conventional. And as a result, they should have absolutely formed it around Molly and her sisters. That one part where they're talking about their men and all those things, that right there is interesting enough. It could have been told from their perspective. And I just think it didn't go far enough do
you think I actually had the little twinge of this thought during that scene with the women this time, the second time through it. Do you think he chickened out because it would expose them as being gullible? Like he chickened out for them being like dumb women who fell for these con men.
But the thing about that scene is they're not dumb.
Well, they're dumb enough to fall for DiCaprio.
They fall for DiCaprio, but they, in a million years, I'm sure didn't see him poisoning her. They knew that he wanted her money, but she says it. She's like, well, he's ready to settle down.
Yeah.
And all of that is really practical. And I like the way that they're talking about it. They don't seem dumb. They seem like they're going in eyes wide open and not understanding the depth to which they're being taken advantage of.
But that's the thing, because she says she knows she's gonna die. She blocks everything out, but she won't admit it about herself. And I kept thinking that, like, why won't they give her the fault of not seeing this?
And that's the other problem with the film. And again, not giving the natives enough agency. I'm just they're not characters enough. 2 seconds, and then I'll shut up. I promise. They still are victims, and to me, then the film does come off as like, colonialist at worst, but then also just conventional blah at best.
Go for it, Alex. What were you going to say?
Well, there was something that you brought up, and a scene that popped out for me this time around that I thought, well, now that could have been a core when the tribal elders are meeting for the first time with Jesse Plemons.
Mm-hmm.
And the one
Same,
said,
just
you know,
said this.
I
Yes.
was fighting in the Boxer Rebellion. I knew who my enemy was. Here, we don't know who our enemy is. And I feel like that would have been more interesting because if you tell it from the perspective of the Native Americans, you know, we get to see this turn of fortune and, you know, a reversal of fortune in their lives. Everything is great, but they're dying off. Could it, is money the corruptor? You know, is it alcohol?
Alex,
Is it suicide?
Alex, beauty. That's exactly the scene that I was thinking too. And I was like, yeah, why aren't they telling it more from this perspective?
That would have made it, but that came so late in the movie. That was the,
I
it was like,
agree.
well, there it is.
Well,
Why
even
can't you do that?
even the scene with Robert
Right.
De Niro when De Niro offers the $1,000 is a really good scene.
Right, but it would have been better if they were more peripheral. I mean, here's a chance, okay? It's the Cowboys versus the Indians, but this time around, it's the Indians' perspective. So the Cowboys are off on the side, and it's like, oh, you know, they're good people. We get along with them, you know. We'll intermingle with them, you know, but they like us.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
I
It wouldn't have
again,
been that
I-
hard.
I
It would not
think-
have been that hard.
I think maybe having De Niro, so obviously the bad guy, maybe is an issue. I
Well,
mean,
and the
from
fact that
get-go.
all I could think about was
Well,
Max Cady every time he opened his mouth. It was like the Max Cady accent. I mean, I'm sorry, but it took me out of the movie. It took me out of the
He and
movie.
DiCaprio take me out of the movie. It's just like Martin Scorsese has his two favorite security blankets, and they have to be at the center of every stupid scene. And after a while, I'm like, you're wrong about only needing to trim 2 scenes with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. We get it. Scene by scene, there's like a zillion of him being like,
yeah,
okay, here's what
And
we
it
do
was
now.
redundant. It was
It's
redundant.
so
definitely
redundant.
redundant. There's
Redundant movie,
redundancy.
And
I
by the end, procedural. I'm like, really? He goes back and forth and then back and forth again? He didn't need all of that.
It's funny.
could
It
have
was
had
like
way
it was
more.
like watching a cop procedural on TV. It's like, oh,
The exact same thing. I feel exactly the same way.
we're going to explain it. Then we're going to tell you what we explained, and then we're going to look
Right.
back and say, "Remember that time we explained everything?"
and then we're gonna have a radio show.
Yeah, and then we'll do a radio show. And then they show the murder. It's just like, come
And don't forget the
on.
gift shop at the end, folks. You know,
Right.
it's like, oh,
I'm just like,
brother.
where's that
Speaking of
energy of,
Missoula
the
Children's
natives
Theater.
dancing in the oil? Where's that energy?
Yeah.
Which was a great start, yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh,
which was a great
It was
start.
a good start. It was.
And then it just went south from there. No
Agreed.
pun intended.
Oof, well, boy, you guys are almost convincing me. But I'm gonna.
Come on,
hold
Caputi,
my
come over to the
guns.
dark.
No,
come over to the dark
there's-
side.
No, there's some good stuff throughout.
We'll make you a tribal member, brother.
You got Bill. You got Bill. There's good stuff throughout where I'm enjoying the film. I'm enjoying the goings on. I'm enjoying the dumb idiot. What's his face? Blackie. You know, bombing the crap out of the
God.
things that do happen are interesting.
And,
They-
okay, side note, have you seen the picture of the actual Blackie?
No.
Uncanny.
Really?
They did their home. I mean, that was one of those that was like, that's the same guy. Look at the picture, and it is some slight differences, but it's like, okay. They resurrected him, brought him back through some native ceremony so he could relive his part. But
Well, again,
you know,
even the guy who you say, he looks the guy who really the real what's his face?
Close.
Ernest looks like
Byron or Scott Shepard, who played Byron. I mean, put a little bit of weight on him. I think he could have done
I
a better
think Jesse
job.
Plemons
But he
would have
wasn't a
been the better
name.
choice. You know,
Yeah, maybe.
make
He
Jesse
had the
Plemons,
name.
Make Jesse Plemons go on a water and bean diet for a few months and get him lean. He could have. I'm sure he would have done it.
Yeah,
I think Jesse
don't hang it.
Plemons and Michael Bowen or Bruce Greenwood probably would have been a better combo as rather than Robert De Niro. But De Niro, all things considered, I think did some good work.
Are we talking performances or are we?
Well, we
what's
might as well
happening?
get into it, but yeah, I don't know. Are we Dave? Are we satisfied with the meaning of the film? What's it all mean?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
To me, this is really Western expansion, colonialism. That's what it's about. That's
But
what I got.
Manifest Destiny taking a pretty creepy turn
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
You
A
know,
dark turn. A
yeah.
dark turn.
Um,
And it had been happening for, how many hundreds of years, You go clear back to Christopher Columbus. It's the same story retold.
It seems even more unjust by the fact that these people were already vanquished. They had moved their home like already 2 or 3 times. And
Right.
then to end up in like Oklahoma, thanks God, and then have the oil and then get taken advantage of just seems like especially cruelly colonialist, just like next level to me. Anyway, which is another reason this story where it's like, I can't believe, I don't know why I can't believe it. It just seemed so unbelievably dastardly.
Well,
would you-
and not to go off on a tangent, but I mean, locally here, the settlers, they would crush up glass in the flour and trade it to the natives, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
horrific. And
Yeah.
well, to me, it's not a trope. As I drive to the reservation, I see, they have the Mormon Handcart National Memorial where the people died. So I
Razor
think,
Mike Dave.
they have the Mormon Handcart Trail National Memorial where all these Mormon pioneers died. They were white. I think these stories need to be told. I think, to me, but yeah.
All right, George, you satisfied with the meaning of the film?
Again, it's just the conveyor belt of what seems to be motivating pop culture and society these days. So if we're all going to just like be bent on getting whitey, okay, fine. But could we please come up with something else? How about a remake of The Bells of St. Mary's where whitey doesn't come off looking so bad? So
You remember
I don't
that
know. There's no
film
cure
very
for this.
differently then.
What's that? I didn't get that.
What'd you
I
say?
was just like, we remember that film very differently.
What's that? Bells of St. Mary's?
Yeah.
No.
The
Something,
point being, George,
anyway.
to sum up, nobody comes off well in that film. It's a cornballer. Who wants that
It
film
is a
again?
cornballer, but Jesus Christ, it's like, come on. I mean, you would think I'd be a little bit more sympathetic towards them producing something that's like this because legitimately I am part Lenape Indian, but that has nothing to do with it. It's just, let's find a convenient target and let's go after it because that way we can make trailers and sell lots of movie tickets. I have no idea how it did at the box office. Does anybody know?
It bombed.
I don't think it did well. Nobody's gonna.
No. Okay. All
It's
right.
it's again.
153 million up against 200 million or something.
It's
right.
it's a Apple streaming. It's gonna be on streaming for a while.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Again, well, I've made my point. It's there for people to view, whether they're watching it with Little Big Man or what. Who knows?
Just a question, George, do you really not think it's an important story for people to know?
That's again, second time, irrelevant to the point that a movie was made of this. It's like, okay.
It's really not irrelevant if you're saying get whitey and rubbing your nose in
Rosanne,
it.
to me,
That's
it's irrelevant. I mean, why
How
are we
is it
continuing to
irrelevant?
do this? Why do we keep doing this? Why? Is there any
Why do we
sort
keep having boy meets girl? She made some bad choices. She's sorry. She lost boy. Then it comes back again. I mean,
And
why do we
Dave,
have any tropes? Why do
yeah,
we tell stories?
George, why again? I keep railing about these Marvel movies. I mean, why are we making any of the movies? At least this was something.
I don't know. I
Okay,
mean, I'm not arguing any of those points with anybody regarding.
but
the plethora
if
of-
there's if there's movies about freaking how the Nike shoe was developed, I think we can watch how these white Oklahomans were poisoning Indians or the Native Americans for no reason other than just money.
Oh, really? So we make a movie about Phil Knight, and then it makes it okay to trot this stuff out? Okay, fine.
I'm just saying, like, you can make a movie about anything as long as it's well done. Now, the question, 3 of you say it wasn't well done. I think it was pretty interesting, and for Scorsese, who's been, he's way past his expiry date. He's made some pretty some pretty awful films of late. This was fairly good, considering he's 78, 90, almost 80 years old. Is a pretty good movie. That's how I see it.
This is actually better than Color of Money. Let me just say.
Yeah, it's better than Color of Money. It's certainly better than The Departed. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, it was again in a like a resume of really great films and then a lot of so-so films. This is almost reaching his great films, I'd say.
Oh my God.
It's better than look at Color of Money. It's better than The Age of Innocence, where he was clearly out of his depth.
Better than Gangs of New York.
I'd say better than Gangs of New York.
That's true.
For sure. Where DiCaprio and Cameron Diaz, at least he had the good sense to cast Lily Gladstone this time versus, I don't know, Jennifer Lawrence as the Molly. I mean, he could have gone a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's, to me, I just care, is it a good movie? I think you can make a movie about whatever. I don't even if it is Get Whitey. Make the next movie we make called Get Whitey.
Let's do that. Okay. If we would do that, I would defend that.
It just has to be a good movie.
Okay.
Well,
at least they're being upfront about the whole thing. So I'm gonna go watch Get Whitey.
Get Whitey.
As long as Get Whitey's good.
As a matter of fact, that's the title of my next book.
Yeah, fine. But anyway, that's all it ever boils down to in my mind. Did they make a good movie? And I think Scorsese. So let's get into why the movie. Let's talk
about the validity of the film then.
So let's get into the what's just everybody's itching to get into, which is performances. So, David Johnson, you're up first. Did you like the main performances from DeNiro and DiCaprio?
They were okay for me. I think out of those two, I probably at times I thought Leonardo had some great scenes, like when he found out his child died. I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah.
And then there were times when DeNiro, I thought, did some, had some good scenes. But I mean, for me, did they carry a movie? They were okay, so I don't know.
It's an interesting because I think De Niro was best when he was on the periphery, as Rosanne and Alex suggested his character be, when he was just one of the bunch with the natives in the tribal meeting, and he's just there as a supporter, and he probably should have been kept that way the entire movie to find out he's the killer, because to dwell so much in him, I think probably was a mistake, only because Alex is right. He did seem like Max Cady. I got that vibe too. All his little Satan talks to DiCaprio were very much like Max Cady, which was one of his lamer performances.
The other scene. Sorry, the other scene is when they took him in I'm assuming that's the Masonic Hall.
Yeah.
And I wish they would have hit his forearms rather than his ass with that paddle. That would have been more, interesting. But anyway.
And again, that felt like a lost opportunity. We know he's a Mason, but again, how does this tie in? The whole. I mean, is that sort of a slight on? It's. Who do you think runs America? The Freemasons.
Yeah, it was, but it confused me because they were Catholics too. So that confused me.
Which is an odd one here.
I mean, not that there aren't Masonic Catholics, but it's still very rare. That was a little. See, here's a problem I have. If we want to use George's favorite word, trope.
Oh no, we reached our limit. We can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I saw that text. I'm going to use the word. I'm going to unabashedly use the word trope. Here's the deal. So, and this is my gripe about Hollywood, they always fetishize and romanticize all spirituality except Christians. so the old granny dies, and she gets to see all her tribe's people ushering her to the great beyond. But you'd never see that if a Lutheran died. You'd never see Martin Luther happily waving the good German Lutheran woman to her the pearly gates, or it's like, okay, so why is it Christians always have to be the bad guys, or it's hypocrisy, but we will embrace wholeheartedly the Native American idea of the afterlife. So that's my only gripe of
weren't they Catholic?
They were Catholic. They were.
Well, she was, but no, but
so why didn't they show Jesus among there?
Well,
see if you know why? Because everybody would say, "Oh, that's corny." Well, what's the difference? That's my question.
I thought it was corny anyway.
You could do the the Taylor Sheridan version.
which is, I don't remember. What did he do?
Well, in any of his series, I think 1923 is a good example. I don't want to get into it, but he really does go at it with a very heavy hand.
Well, that's the problem.
And that's
From
the
Oliver
problem,
Stone on,
exactly.
it's always like, I want a more matter-of-fact approach, and that's why I especially liked the beginning of this film, because Scorsese was pretty matter-of-fact in a Goodfellas way, where people are just seeing horrific murders, very sort of black and white, cut and dry, like, ooh, wow, that's just how it happened, huh? So I liked all that, and then there were these sort of detours into Oliver Stoneisms, which I just thought, that's a problem. It's sort of you talk about trope, it's there. But getting back to performance, I'll give it to you, Rosanne. How'd you like our two male leads?
They were a big reason why I didn't like the film. I couldn't take Leonardo DiCaprio's stupid ass Southern accent, his tooth acting, his lower face acting in the whole last hour and a half of the film. And Robert De Niro, again, I just think that character, that person in the book, especially to me, and I'm sorry to compare it to the book, but I just think, right, that Masonic scene should have been more symbolic about what it was exactly that he was representing, which was this status quo that pretended all these things only to be completely taking advantage of these people. And it, to me, at best, again, his performance was sort of obvious and not that interesting. I didn't find him compelling. And I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was just typically spazzy. Again, he does accomplish some things, but he has 3.5 hours to have about 3 decent scenes in the whole film. And again, I just resent that it's mostly them talking, because I don't think the characters are compelling enough to make that happen. Like, he's an idiot and he's the devil. Who gives a shit? And they're both acting like both.
Well, it's true. It's not very I suppose that's a good point. It's not very. That's probably what leads to the monotony of those scenes, because it's not a big feat to trick a moron.
Right.
and DiCaprio is doing all these variations of how to play a moron. So first he has dirty, big, crooked teeth.
Dirty teeth. He doesn't, he's sex, whatever. He can't read for shit.
Yeah,
whatever.
he's always playing. He's always kind of playing that. Yeah, but the thing is, this is my issue with Leonardo DiCaprio as a whole. He's a compelling, attractive, charismatic actor who overacts, and I've always said that.
Sure.
Like, he's always been watchable. He's never bad in the sense that, gosh, why is he in a movie? I always get why he's a legitimate movie star. He just happens to be the show off. He's a big show off, as I keep saying. Yeah.
Again, the irritating thing is just like, come on, Martin Scorsese, you used to be a man. You can't control your boy a little bit and have him give a decent performance?
Yeah.
And he just can't. He just rolls over for Leonardo DiCaprio and lets him do whatever the hell he wants.
But conversely, DiCaprio does do good things. So he does woo, like he wooed me as much as he did Lily Gladstone when he got on her good side. I said, okay, I like his character.
Right. And that scene was improvised. Apparently that was genuinely her laughing when he says, "Is that Indian for handsome devil?" That was all improvised,
Yeah.
Fine.
and that's his problem because he does good stuff like in Titanic. He ingratiates himself among the rich people. He does the same thing in this film, and that he's good at that. That's his thing. I think it comes from being an actor and wanting to be liked because he's
he's
good
Bill
at
Murray
that.
the second time he's having the snowball battle.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
time.
yeah.
That's absolutely. So and again, she deserves better. I think the old Coots deserve better than those two performances at the core of the film.
Well, you don't have a movie without those two. So there's
Again,
no
if you
200
had a
there's
more
no $200 million budget without those two.
Understand this, but you're asking about, I'm like, if you had a more imaginative director, if you had someone who was willing to take more chances and tell it from a native's perspective, you would have had a film that actually mattered.
I guess, but with what he had to work with, I think Scorsese ultimately did what he had to do.
What he had to work
Yeah,
with.
with what he had to work with. He chose it, but obviously the film wouldn't have gotten made.
with
If
Kelly
DiCaprio was an executive producer, if he didn't want to be, if he wasn't making this film happen, it wouldn't have happened. Nobody would have known about it.
I get it. But if Kelly Reichardt had made the film and made it about Molly and her sisters, it would have been a better film based on Lily Gladstone and the women who played her sisters.
Okay.
That's okay. Now I'm done. That's
granted. Alex, anything to add to this? What did you think of DiCaprio?
Again, those few moments where he does sort of cut through, you just feel like, but to get to this point, we had to go through a lot of drudgery. And just like with DeNiro, the whole Max Cady thing with DiCaprio was Rick Dalton. I mean, I'm watching Rick Dalton again with the stuttering and kind of the southern accent, and as you say, kind of jutting out the jaw, a little bit on the histrionics. And, a part of you kind of wished a more Jesse Plemons-like performance.
Yeah.
You don't need that if he is going to be an idiot. And it just felt like, okay, he didn't have a very far journey to go from kind of a muttonhead to a bad guy. But we stretch it out for 3 hours.
For sure.
Why? It was a short trip.
Well,
and again, put him on the side.
I think
You
the
can't
strength of the film
justify
is
it,
wondering. I
Caputi.
think the strength of the film is not wondering if this jackass is going to become good or bad. It's the strength of the film is he going to kill her? And the first time through, I was really, really worried she was going to die. So that was my.
Yeah.
So, maybe this isn't a movie meant for multiple viewings, but I still enjoyed the film more or less the same when I saw it again. Yes,
but you could have made it more engaging. I mean, when you think about, I don't know, what's the Charles Boyer and what's her name in the movie Gaslight? Why couldn't we have something more like that? Or which one? Oh yes, Bergman. Yes.
Bergman.
Yeah, a little bit more compelling story. I mean, kind of make it a little bit more of a potboil if you have to, but make it entertaining.
Well, don't you think?
know?
I think the tedium is from all the scenes where he's shooting her up with insulin, and there's a lot of that.
But you don't need, but
No, I know. I'm saying the question is, I was like, okay, is he gonna kill her? Is he gonna kill her? And the second time through, I'm like, okay, I know what's gonna happen, so I don't care about the scenes with the insulin anymore because.
and especially, and the downside of that, the downer with that is when she confronts him at the end, the last. In the film, I think the last meeting they have together is,
Yeah.
what were you giving me? And he looks at her and it's insulin, you know? And just
That's
the
a
look
good
on her
scene,
face.
though.
It is,
It is
but
a good
look, you had to, look what you had to do to get there. And it just, I think it lost its impact because of all the tedium that led up to it.
Okay.
Now here's a good chance to see a non-director's cut. Cut everything down and just get to the point. Sorry, Scorsese, but
when my clients take my videos and chop them up. Sure. Let Alex do a cut.
sure, why not? I'm not saying that, but now, okay. So in terms of performances, I mean the two stars, DeNiro and DiCaprio, and they were the ones that kind of, hey man, those two cats really brought the show down. That's my take.
You know,
I wouldn't say
that
terribly.
except for the crying scene. And I like the
Again-
Max Cady going, she's with Jesus now. I'm like, that's pretty funny
And that
considering
could have been
what a
fine,
cold-blooded
again.
killer he is, talking about, oh, she's with Jesus now. I like that scene. So they do, both of them do good work. They both do bad
I'm
work.
not saying, but there were opportunities for better work, for more, and there was some great.
I just
peripheral
think had they gone with
characters.
Bruce Greenwood, we would have had a much stronger
Well,
movie.
but they didn't.
Yeah. Well,
You
or
know.
Michael Bowen. That would have been a much better film. All right, George, last to weigh in on the performances. I think I know where this is heading, but did you see any value in what DiCaprio brought to the proceedings? How about that? How about that lower? How about that? That good? Were you moved by the underbite in the courtroom scenes?
Yeah, no, that was excellent. That was excellent. Snidely Whiplash was great. Dudley Do-Right from the Bureau of Investigation was actually Plemons just stands out for me because I think his performance was
he's
quite
a
good.
pro.
Yes.
He's
Yeah,
He's a
he
pro.
is.
yeah.
But I don't get. I mean, De Niro and DiCaprio, 1 and 2 dimensional, and I think the Lily Gladstone getting nominated for anything is just a joke.
You're taking away. I think you're what's the word?
I'm sorry, a big joke. It's not just a joke. It's a big joke.
You're dismissing the fact that she is a low key laconic type.
I get it.
She still does good work.
But it's like no, I'm not buying that. Oh, that's what they were like. Okay.
No, she's.
How do you know?
Okay,
like
you
that.
got Anna, who's a firebrand, and you got the more contemplative, sort of quiet, guarded sister. She played that well. She has a lot of scenes with emotional breakdowns. She does good work. I'm not going to take that away from her.
She didn't.
Yeah.
If she did that, they weren't in Killers of the Flower
Yeah,
Moon. Is
they
there another
were.
movie she's in
What
that I
were.
about
should
that
watch?
scene when she finds out they're sitting in the basement and she finds out their house has been,
Exactly.
and she just wails on the stairs. That
Even the
broke my
scenes
heart.
of her writhing in agony under the drugs that she's getting are pretty good. She's showing she's doing good emotional work.
Yes, she is. You know what? You're all right. I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I
Thank
will
you,
vote
George.
for Lily Gladstone.
I'm not saying
promise.
she should win Best Actress. I'm not saying she's a shoo-in, but I think she was the most interesting. Well, she and Jesse Plemons were in the same show, while DiCaprio and De Niro were resting on their laurels, and DiCaprio was doing his usuals, like, I'm gonna get me the biggest false teeth and the biggest hat, and I'm gonna act the hell out of this movie, because that's what he does every movie. Anyway, so all right, so let's talk about females. So we talked about males, so we've already covered Lily Gladstone. Rosanne, let's give us the insight on what you thought of Lily Gladstone and her sisters.
Again, I didn't love that Anna had that Southern accent again, just because they're not from the South. So that kept bothering me, but I really liked Lily Gladstone. Like I said, I wanted to see more with her sisters. The actress who played her mom, I always forget her name. Oh, Tantu Cardinal, who's a stalwart. But I loved her disapproving look of Leonardo DiCaprio when he first walks in and leaving the door open while she just walks past disapprovingly. I really liked, again, I would have to say, I think this is Martin Scorsese's best try at directing women. And not that it's the best effort ever, but for him, I think it was fairly decent since he almost never does.
He did it in Age of Innocence.
I guess.
I don't know. Who remembers that?
I
really?
do. I don't love Michelle Pfeiffer ever.
No, I get it. I'm with
and
you
I
on
didn't
that.
think Winona Ryder was that great, although nominated for an Oscar for that movie.
There you go.
Anyway, the women were my favorite part in a lot of ways, other than if we're talking about. So we're just talking women, or are we talking about?
We haven't gotten to
Again,
supporting. There's a whole host of supporting men who deserve.
Yeah,
a
supporting
few nods.
characters save the film as
Yeah.
far as that goes. And so the women, unfortunately, even Lily Gladstone to some extent, are relegated to that, regardless of the heavy lifting that they do in some scenes. There's still almost everybody is relegated to that except DeNiro and DiCaprio.
Again, there's major Hollywood
So I would
stars.
say everyone else.
We get
in
that,
the
but come
film-
on.
I'm just
is
saying.
doing good work.
I'm just saying it. Whether you deserve it or not, they are the two stars.
But I'm
So,
just saying.
I'm saying. All right. So, Dave,
Anyway,
what did
that's
you
all-
think of
that's
Lily
all.
Gladstone?
I like Lily Gladstone.
Hold up the
To me,
mic.
she reminded me of what's that movie with Colin? We discussed it in one of the podcasts. Is it Fort
The New World.
The New World.
New World? She
Yeah.
reminded me of that actress. You know,
Yeah.
didn't say a lot, but just to me, you don't have to say a lot to act. I liked her, and I liked her sister. It was Anna, right? The wild
Yeah.
one. I liked the
Mhm.
contrast in those two. But no, I again, I agree. I think the supporting cast carried the movie, but we needed the major Hollywood stars.
Finally, Alex, you have thoughts on the
On peripheral characters?
female
The women-
peripheral characters?
Cara Jade Meyers, the woman who played Anna.
Oh.
And
what's she from? What's
unfortunately-
she done?
I
I
don't
was
know.
being kind of
I mean,
facetious.
this is
with
really
my,
like one of
intro.
her first. I think. I don't think she has an
Missoula
extensive-
Children's Theater.
Well,
You
yeah,
know, but
there
did you know
go.
Missoula Children's
No.
Theater is mentioned in her bio on Wikipedia? I was like, wow.
Well, she also. Who are you talking about?
No
Lily
kidding.
Gladstone?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she
got
also
the
worked at
acting
OSF.
bug from Missoula Children's Theater.
Okay, because she also worked at
There you go.
OSF. So
Oh yeah, I
think
read that too.
a season or two at OSF. You know,
I'd like
but
to think it
that's-
was somehow she saw me 10 years before she was born.
Boy, if that's what they call acting, I better get on it.
I can
what it
do
really
that.
is. Oh,
If that
jeez.
doofus can do it.
Oh, we've all been down that road. Yeah, no, let's see, it's funny, well, she's from Arizona. So, that's all I know. I just remember thinking not enough of her. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, because she really was a firebrand, and I think, they could have gone further with her part, because she is a threat, but it's like, I don't know.
I would have liked to seen her play Molly, honestly.
Perhaps. I don't know. You talked about that when you looked at the picture of the actual Molly.
Yeah.
I don't think she was that far, that Gladstone was that far off. She had a little bit wider face, but,
she was much homelier. And not that the
Well.
girl played Anna was homely, but she just looks like she could go either way, So
Yeah,
that's
but the
all.
girl that
It
played-
just seems
I
like
see it.
the Scorsese is doing the safe thing of casting the sort of attractive, likable person as the lead, where in this case it would be more like he's marrying her for he's really marrying her for her money, and then if he really does fall in love with her, it's even, I think, a little better because it's anyway. I don't mean to rip on the film. I like the film. I don't want to act like I don't. I think it's a solid film. It's not a bad film in any way. It's got issues. That's all. But compelling. So all right, let's get to the Coots. We get to the moment we've all been waiting for, folks. We're going to talk about those old Coots. What a cast of Coots!
yeah.
George Young, before you fall not off to sleep, who is your favorite of the old Coots in the film?
And I'm sorry, are we talking about the Osage?
No, we're talking about all the craggy-faced white men in the film, who I thought were all very good.
Okay. Do I have a second to look at the cast list?
Sure.
Because,
All right, Alex, take over. You know these guys.
Gene Jones.
Gene Jones. Who did he play?
He
Oh,
played
yeah, he's
Pitt.
great.
Yeah, everybody knows Gene Jones from No Country for Old Men.
right,
Call it
right.
friendo. But he had one of the better lines after the bombing when DeNiro comes back from Fort Worth and Gene Jones meets him at the bombing and says something about, you're pronouncing yourself just a little, or something like you're making too much
Yeah.
of a pronunciation at this point.
I don't know
Bill."
about Gene Jones. To me, he's like the latter-day Brendan Fraser's father. He's
No,
he's just a gross-looking guy.
No. He was fine for the part.
Sure.
Speaking
He
of
looks the
Brendan
part, but he
Fraser,
still
boy,
gives me
you
the-
want to talk about
even
it.
in
Oh,
Klansman.
No Country for Old Men, he gave me the heebie-jeebies. Like, what an ugly
well,
old
yes, he is, but he's
blubberbutt.
believable.
Like, I don't want to
No,
see this guy.
I don't care. I liked him. He's got that great voice, and I thought he was fine. And the guy,
I thought what's his face from Northern Exposure was better. In if you're gonna
Barry
take
Corbin. Well, Barry Corbin is
Well,
always.
if you're gonna take No Country
Yeah,
for Old Men
Corbin.
actors,
I'm taking them both then, and
Yeah.
I'm taking the guy. What's his? I guess his name is Tai Mitchell, who played
Tai
John
Mitchell,
Ramsey.
he's the best. He's my favorite. I
Yeah.
love
You know,
Who's he?
and just he was
Who's
the
Tai
guy
Mitchell?
that that with the long mustache, the one that has to
And all the
kill.
kids.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
What's
he
he
can't.
been in? Where have I seen his?
I
craggy
don't
face?
know. I think
Oh.
he's just one of those guys that really is like a rancher.
Plus the guy from Ghost World. What's his name? Roseanne, the Ghost World guy.
Oh,
as
Pat
Pat
Lemon.
Healy.
Pat
Healy.
Healy. Yeah, he was good. He's-
Yeah, but not
He's
enough of
exactly a
him.
coot. He's an
Not
agent.
enough of him.
I know, but he's developing into a second fiddle coot character.
Yeah. Hey, can we
After
can
playing
we just,
a punk?
Can we just say something about Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Can we just
the
say
hell?
that? What the hell?
Well,
was
I
that?
don't. Okay, the first time through, I was what the hell. The second time through, I said, "Oh, I get it. He's grandstanding for the court.
He's
I got that."
grandstanding, I guess, but I
here's
don't know.
here's Brendan Fraser's thing. Ever since he became fat and ugly, he's too gross to look at. I just it's like watching a space alien in a movie. Like, who the hell is this guy? He was in The Mummy. It's weird.
Yeah, no, he was George of the Jungle.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's too
Lean, mean fighting machine.
Right.
You
Too
know,
creepy to behold. And John Lithgow, my favorite. He seemed oddly that definitely reeked of Oppenheimer.
See, but both of those roles did reek of Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, you could have gotten somebody better for that. A character.
I'm all for
actor.
John Lithgow, but I just didn't see
But
what
Brendan
he
Fraser
had
was
offered
too
in this.
obvious.
Well, I don't know.
yeah.
I think Brendan Fraser is just a weirdo now. He's fine. Does he look like a sleazy lawyer? Sure, I guess. Dave, any thoughts on
old
the
Coots?
the supporting players?
I kind of liked the guy that was on trial, and I can't
Blackie.
remember. Blackie, I liked him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Blackie.
Yeah,
I forgot
yeah.
about him. Yes, Blackie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he did it. He was one that stood out to me.
Yeah.
But they were all a bunch of bearded, scraggly old guys like me, I guess. But,
That's why I was asking you.
yeah.
Well,
But I
Blackie
liked-
just had that. Yeah.
He was clean shaven though.
Yeah. The old Dave Johnson.
That's right.
All right, George, and time to think about it? No?
Yeah, and I had forgotten about Lithgow, and I thought if I'm going to be drawn to any character performance that was scenery chewing, it would have been him. Although I did like Tai Mitchell. I thought he was great.
Uh-huh. All right. Okay, and Roseanne, did I ask you? Did you get a old salt?
Again, I
You
mostly
haven't.
agree with. I just couldn't believe Pete Yorn was AC Kirby. I really
Oh,
liked. Yeah. So, and I liked him
Well,
as
there were
AC
a lot,
Kirby.
a lot of musicians in this movie.
Yeah, there were like my.
Jason Isbell.
Unfortunately, my favorite Jack White was in the terrible radio show. So,
No,
what I will
right.
say, I thought he was surprising as AC Kirby. But I think Tai Mitchell was my number one fave.
Okay. Yeah, he was
That's
good.
right.
He was the part. He did. I think he
Yeah,
lives
he was
that
the part.
part. I mean, he is that
Apparently,
guy.
he's just a cowboy and a rancher. Yeah, so it was like,
Yeah,
that's pretty
so
cool.
Well, he's a good actor, for sure.
Yeah, he was good.
All right. So got that covered. So speaking of musicians, how did everybody like Robert?
Hold up. Wait a second. Don't we talk about the native side? There's lots of good native actors.
Were there? Because I thought they weren't given anything specific to do, except for the federal agent.
Wait a second. The guy who played Henry Roan
Okay.
was actually really good.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
really,
yeah,
he
for
was.
sure.
I thought that was a really good performance.
Yeah.
I liked when
Sorry,
he's like,
yeah.
"Whose land is this?" And he's like,
He
"I'm
should have been. I wonder if his part got cut. He seems like he
It
should have
seemed
been in
like
the
it
movie
did.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one person that was missing that was surprising not to see was Gary Farmer. Why didn't they cast Gary Farmer? He would have been great as one of the elders.
Hmm.
Gary Farmer's, and he's at that age now.
Who are you
Big,
talking about?
heavy
We don't.
set. Gary Farmer. Okay, Gary Farmer's been around forever. He's a Native American actor. Um, he was in Smoke Signals with Adam Beach. He played the father. Um, he was in that strange Johnny Depp movie, Dead Man. Yeah.
Hmm.
Gosh, what else? I mean, if you saw him, big, round, pudgy face. Gary Farmer, he is like the go-to
Well, he
veteran
wasn't in
Native
it, Alex. So
American.
let's
No,
not
he
talk about him.
wasn't. I
All
know,
right.
but
So
he would have
So
been
do you?
right at
So were
home.
those guys
Right at
just
home.
playing the tribal elders? Were they locals that he just cast? What's the word on the street? Because I thought they
He
were very
was.
good.
They
Word on the street
were.
is they weren't Gary Farmer. There
Right.
you go.
Indeed.
They were. They were Osage tribesmen and people from
Okay.
around. That's why they sounded. Again, that guy in his whatever Missouri accent just slayed me. But I thought he was doing great work.
Yeah.
But I really liked the guy who played. Well, like I said, I liked Tatanka
Tonka
Means.
Yeah.
That's Russell Means'
But
son.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was good. He was
Yeah.
good. Lanky
He
son
was
of a
good.
gun.
Lanky son of a gun, for
Was he?
sure.
He's not the guy from Asteroid City, is he?
No.
Who was that? Where did he show
Um,
up in this film? He should have.
Mm,
Again, I wanted to bring attention to William Below or whatever who played Henry Roan. I thought he was
You're
really
right.
good.
No, you're good call. He was
mhm.
good. And again, yeah, I guess you could have gone into a lot of characters' backstories more
I think you could have.
than more scenes of DiCaprio and DeNiro talking about, well, there's fighting it, son. She's gonna die. She's gonna die, son.
Not for real. We got it.
We get it. She's gonna die. You're gonna kill her.
Have you killed her yet? No.
All right,
Okay.
fair
Both
enough.
not
Fair
taking
enough.
responsibility.
Fair enough.
Got it.
Okay, now can we talk
Okay.
about the posthumous award nomination for Robbie Robertson? I was
Yes.
a little scared about the score when I first saw it. The film, I thought it's too much. Second time I settled and I thought the score was pretty good. Thoughts, anyone? We don't have to cover if nobody has any thoughts on it.
I actually have
I
thoughts.
was-
I actually don't like the band that much, and I've never been a huge Robbie Robertson fan, mostly
What?
because of his annoying. Yeah, sorry, mostly because of his annoying relationship with Scorsese, actually, and
Well,
their weird, erotic,
true,
coke-fueled romance. Anyway, but I really
was
liked this.
strange.
Yeah, that was a weird epoch for sure, but I really liked the score, and I thought it was going to be annoying. The first time I thought, is this trying too hard? And the second time I thought, thank God this isn't just like native ethereal flutes and shit like this. It actually had a perspective. So I really liked it.
I agree. Little what kind of guitar? Little metal guitar there playing
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Well,
Yeah.
in the beginning, but he settles into more of the, sort of the bluesy,
Yeah.
That
Southwest Texas.
oil scene was good, and it's good because of the
It's my
music.
favorite scene in the movie.
It's
Yeah.
the
But
best
I
part
do
of the
like
movie.
his I do like his choice of
Yeah.
music too. Not just what he did, but some of the songs that he chose, like Bulldozer. I think it's Bulldozer Blues, which everybody recognizes as which Canned Heat took, and
Sure.
made
the
going on. Yeah,
country.
it's just, almost note for note. Just the lyrics changed, but no, and again, anytime somebody uses Blind Willie Johnson's "Dark was the night, cold was the ground," even if they use it inappropriately, like Abel Ferrara in the Padre Pio movie. That's
Yeah.
that haunting blues guitar, but in this case, it works.
Hmm.
Because that really was of that era, and that song is one of those that just has that haunting feel, and rightfully so. So yeah, you got my vote.
Dave, thoughts? You look bored.
I'll be honest, I didn't like the soundtrack with the electric guitar in the beginning, and then as the movie progressed, I'm like, this music's pretty good. So yeah, I
I
liked
felt
it.
the same way the first time. Now, once I expected it, I thought, oh, that scene does work. It sort
Yeah.
of takes the movie into high gear suddenly.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it gives them that energy and
Yeah.
again that ownership.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's get into, because this is controversial, because it's Rodrigo Piedro, cinematographer who did the Revenant, I believe. So I think the cinemat. Hold on, Alex, double check this.
He did. Yeah, I don't know if he did the Revenant, but he did work with that director. I can't say his name because it's a mouthful. But one of his earlier films.
Yeah, so we're talking a seasoned cinematographer. I thought the
Yeah.
cinematography was pretty good. Rosanne said it looked like a TV show on a set. So I disagree with that
Stand by
assessment.
that.
Rodrigo Prieto, who has
Yeah.
done. He's got some pretty good. Brokeback Mountain, Wolf of
Wow.
Wall Street. Okay, so he did Babel. That's right, he did Babel.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, Argo.
Who can forget Babel?
Yeah,
Me.
boy, talk about over.
I thought there was a certain grit and earthy feel to his cinematography. George, you agree? No?
I really liked it. It's probably the best Western cinematography in my limited experience. I hate to invoke it, but since Heaven's Gate,
Oh.
I felt like I was back in the
Interesting.
20s, and I felt like I was out west. Okay. To me, that says the shot composition and color palette worked.
Who did Power of the Dog? Did you see Power of the Dog
I have
last
not.
year?
No.
Yeah, I thought we all agreed that had great cinematography. I thought
Oh, okay.
this wasn't as good as Power of the Dog, I don't think, but
I don't know.
it gave me a distinct, dirty, grimy, oily feel. So I
I
thought
did not feel the grime as much, although this time I did like that scene of all the oil rigs and then the hills when the split in two as they're driving up to his house or whatever. I don't love the way it looks.
I
What?
thought it was pretty good. I thought the races and everything. The only thing this is a weird, probably a little quirk with me. I don't like drone shots in movies set in the past, because I buy them in spy movies. I don't like them in movies where drones don't exist.
Okay, I'm gonna take issue with that for this movie. Watching it this second time around, I'm gonna say that I think it's Scorsese going for a little bit more of that Native American spirit vibe. I'm seeing, the drone shot for me was like from the point of view of the Raven.
I got
And
it.
how the Raven, I get it, but
I don't care about that. I don't care about
it
wacky
didn't
shots
take it
about
out.
spirituality and people dying. That's fine. That can be a helicopter, that could be a crane. But when you use drone shots to establish a town in an old movie, it's like when Ridley Scott did the high shutter speed in Gladiator, because it's like, why is he doing that? It made sense in Saving Private Ryan. It does not make sense in Gladiator. It says to me that, oh, we're watching a movie of the past. Well, how's that possible? So the same kind of thing, like, well, why are we doing drone shots in 1920? They didn't have drones, so why are we doing that?
No, but
So
they didn't have those electric guitars,
well, I guess.
I mean, you've
guess.
got
And
that. So in the
that's
beginning,
that was my first reaction. My
start
first reaction
off.
was anachronistic, but I bought it. But
See, and I think it was an anachronistic. I do. I think it was a conscious choice of Scorsese trying to give it that relevance, that it's not just a nostalgic look back, but this is,
Yeah.
his way of saying this is something that we still
yeah, I got
either
it.
must deal with.
I understand that concept, but to me,
I think it
I
just
mean,
is your
I'm
own
gonna give him
pet
credit
it
for
peeve.
is
that.
my quirk. But I mean, what's
You
wrong
look
with just
fair to your own
what's wrong
peccadillo.
with just a camera on a hill, or camera on a on a truck, or just camera, doing anything that could be done in 1920? I just think,
Who
I don't know.
knows?
Drones, it just says to me,
Sometimes.
well, this isn't a spy thriller. You know,
You.
that's all. It throws me out of the movie a little. Anyway, Dave, any thoughts on a drone shot in a 1920s movie?
Well, I don't give a shit. It's fine. I don't care. Yeah. Whatever
I'm
gets
a pure.
shot,
You have to understand. I'm a purist.
I know. You're like a skier and I'm a snowboarder. I get it. Yes, you're a purist.
And I listen to only vinyl. Yeah, Roseanne, you with your vinyl
Vinyl.
collection.
Oh yeah, break it out, Roseanne. What do you got?
Again, why must you always call me out in this way that I'm a poser? It's how I listen to music. It's all I have.
I don't know. I jumped on that CD train when it happened. All right. Okay. Cinematography, blah blah blah. What do we got? Production design. Again, I think production. George, you think production design was good? You said it was good.
Yeah, I
I think
really
it was
like
good. Roseanne said it looked like they all looked like sets. I disagree. I felt like I smelled the mold, the woodsy mildew from the wooden houses. I thought it was like old-timey wood. I thought the look was good. Look was authentic.
The only thing I thought looked great was the women's. The women. I loved all their blankets and things like this. If we're talking, I don't know, but I'm just within the homes. I thought. I mean, I guess apparently they got. Apparently they got all this china from houses around there and things like this, and that all these Osage people and people in Oklahoma were giving them their dishes to use, which I thought was pretty cool. And so I assume these are all big ass farmhouses around Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There was just it's the town problem.
Look,
Here's the thing.
We
The
are
first
from
shot of him,
you live in Smallville. It looked looked like Smallville.
to me, it didn't. The town itself, when he gets off the train, it just reminded me of how he was faking young New York City in Gangs of New York. I hated it. I didn't. I was just like, sorry, guys, I'm used to like Westfall and places like this that look dirty. And I get it. There's money in this town. I understand there's a difference, but I'm just like, I really expected more rundown.
If you would spruce
Like
up
real
Vail,
it looked like
if you
real
would
Bravo.
spruce up Vail, Oregon now to its 1927 grandeur, it would look like that. I thought it looked good.
Wait,
I
Roseanne.
thought what? Lay it on me.
Hey, Leonardo DiCaprio's teeth. That sells it right there. Gritty, dirty. You can smell that periodontal disease coming out of his mouth every time he talks. So there you go.
So are you counting his teeth as part of production design?
Yeah, it's
makeup, Dave. Makeup. I guess makeup and production design go hand in hand.
Along with costume. I just, for some reason, I didn't feel like the sun fading. It just didn't feel like the hot sun that I know. I know I'm in Oklahoma. It seems like it should be hotter. I'm just like, even Francis Ford Coppola felt like it got Tulsa better, you know? I don't know. I just didn't feel like a place. It felt like an idea of a place.
That's an interesting point because it didn't feel completely like a location. The character does not. Okay, I'll agree with you there. It does not feel like a character in the movie, the town.
No.
So that's legit. You know, it doesn't feel like a specific town with a specific mood. It was a little generic, not as generic as most like hack Hollywood films are. It was
fine, but we're talking about Mr. New York City, Martin Scorsese, you know, like place is a character in his films. And so the fact that he doesn't honor the West and this place and these people with the same respect.
I know he doesn't.
So he understands it more than he
understood Age of Innocence.
Fine, that's fine, but it's still a flaw in the film. If you're telling a story about a people and a land, you should make it part of, you know, a character in your film.
See, and when I first saw it, it did remind me of Power of the Dog, but it wasn't as good as Power of the Dog.
Right. It wasn't as, she definitely had a distinct look and feel to her place. Yeah.
But it's not the worst I've ever seen.
Right.
But
right. Again, I keep going to the George
Foreman.
That's not the same
as good. This is my argument with Gino.
Better than most is good. if you got a bunch of dummies, the smartest one in the class, no matter how dumb they are, they're still the smartest one in the class.
No.
We are now teaching failing students all the time. Again, I will cart it out again because it's the
Who's
worst offender I've seen.
telling?
Is the George Foreman story? Like,
Oh my
you guys,
God.
we're watching a
That's your
freaking
benchmark.
costume
I
party.
know.
But it's like the worst offender I've seen, and most movies are like that. If they come off like a Hollywood costume party, I'm done. I'm like, these guys, they hired a bunch of crew either cheaply or who have no clue of the time period that they're dressing and building sets for. It's either because they don't have the money or they don't have the talent. And most movies, most TV I see is like that. Like, this isn't how it looked in the 50s. This is not how it looked in the 80s. I was there. Nobody looked like this. It didn't look like nobody walked around like Michael Jackson every day. It's just, it's like, yeah, there were some dorks who dressed like Michael Jackson, but most people were wearing 80s clothes. And they weren't all just sideways zippers. This was pretty good. I'd say it lived in, could have used a little more definition in the town. But it didn't seem like nowhere, like we're on Hollywood backlots. It didn't have that feel.
It's a solid B grade.
Dave, thank you.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cover the editing. Okay, I guess we have to cover editing because what's her face? Schoonmaker. So little slack. Do you think that was Scorsese's fault or her fault? George Young, the editor.
It's like the audio editorial, unless it's completely crappy, is just I don't have the nuance for it, believe it or not. It's something that's kind of like law.
You've overseen production though, haven't you?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said,
post-production.
Yeah, but unless it's really horrible, I think probably if you want to describe it as workmanlike, it was fine.
But you said it's a terrible movie, so it
is a terrible movie.
And you said it's like
awful. No one should.
It's an hour and a half. It's an hour and a half too long.
I don't know how much clearer I should be about this. They should take every print, every digital copy, and throw it out. It's so bad.
So obviously, an hour and a half. But you said earlier it should have been an hour and a half shorter.
Oh, at least. Like,
so
it should
then
be
the editing was bad.
18 minutes shorter.
That goes into editing. That's the editor's fault.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I say like a C. I say overall the movie's a B. The editing was a C, just because how could she not lean over and go, Marty, we already said this 2 scenes ago, and then we said it again, Marty.
She sounds nothing like that.
Wow.
Anyway, I just think she should have cut those 2 scenes. Alex, thoughts on the editing? Grade it. We're all grading it. Give it a grade.
Grading it? I'm going to give it a D.
Woo,
Same.
D.
I'm sorry, but I am because
Schoonmaker?
Because that's the problem. It was the mighty Thelma Schoonmaker, who in the past, she just had that way of making those scenes crackle and move. There was, I didn't get that. And I know you don't want the same energy that you have in something like Goodfellas, which does have a real definite energy that's fun to watch. But it just plodded along. I mean, this really was a movie where I had to put my watch on so I could check it. I mean, that's what it felt like,
Quick,
and again, quick, my watch, I must check it. I'm doing the universal sign of, look, I am checking my watch. Oh boy. No. And I don't know if it was, if it's equal parts blame. I mean, they're both getting up there in age and, they're just settling into their twilight years. I don't know. But this is the first time they've worked together in a while, isn't it? Because she didn't work on the god-awful Irishman. I hope not.
I don't
think so.
I don't know.
And I but anyway, I was disappointed. I was.
All right,
and
Dave,
you see her name on it, and you're like, really? Okay.
Well, maybe
I know. Everybody
maybe
deserves a dog.
she just was collecting a paycheck. Who knows?
Nothing wrong with that.
Dave Johnson, thoughts on the editing? You said it was a B.
Yeah, I mean, I think the production design a B, editing for me, they could have cut out. They probably could have cut out like 30 plus minutes for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, this leads to finally and direction. Direction, everybody. How did Marty do? I guess we've already covered it, but give it a grade. I'm gonna give Marty Scorsese a B minus. Alex Robertson.
C minus.
Dave Johnson.
I'd give him a B plus.
B plus. George Young. F. He's gonna say it.
We need a 27th letter in the alphabet.
Rosanne, how did Martin Scorsese do as a director?
Again, do I compare him to Martin Scorsese or do I compare him to Taylor Hackford? Like, it seems more in line with that. So I guess like a D plus.
Oof. Oof, those are harsh words.
Woo.
Harsh
Sorry.
words. All right, final
Taylor
question,
Hackford
folks.
reference. That's always good.
Yeah, right.
Who even
Well,
thinks of Taylor Hackford? Final question. Do we recommend this film? David Johnson, you're going to recommend this film?
Yes, I'd recommend this film.
I would too. George Young.
You got to be kidding.
Roseanne Caputi, you going to recommend this film to anybody? How about Mom? Would you recommend Mom sees the film?
I did recommend it to Mom just
then
because.
You recommend the film.
So, but I did say I would rather go to her house and read her the book like Joe March to Great Aunt March. So I would rather recommend the book to everybody.
Alex, would you recommend the film?
Yeah, only to insomniacs.
Tough crowd.
Very tough crowd. I think
you knew it. You knew it going in.
I knew it going in. I thought I'd make it more of a defense, but you guys are beating me down. I'm getting pummeled.
and we're not. And it's not out of spite. I mean, really, though.
It's spite. Spite.
Spite. Spite will be your undoing. Speaking of which, why don't we do that someday? Why don't we do the 1985? I know I'm off the subject.
Death of a Salesman?
Yes.
No, you can't. That was a television production.
It's not, yeah, I was
it's
not a movie.
Still a movie to me.
No, I'm a
it's
TV
everything.
Movie snob. I cannot. TV does not cut it. Okay, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Fabulous Film and Friends. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Bye, folks. Yay!
Hooray!
Thank you for listening to Fabulous Film and Friends. Copyright 2024. Bel Air Films production.